we doing, everybody? And welcome to Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trach. I'm your host, Trach. Today, no Austen. He is out today. I don't know what's going on. He had a little small get-together, I guess, that he had going on. So Austen is gone today. It's just me. So today, we got a lot to talk about. We got the Bucks in action tonight coming up against the Pacers. We're going to talk about that game coming up tonight. Also, the last game they had against the Pacers there. Also, looking at the college football playoff. Big games happening yesterday in the college football world, also in other bowl action. So we're going to get into the college football world a little bit there. Also looking at the Packers and then jumping into Badger basketball. Got the win over Iowa. We got to recap that game. So right away, I want to jump into the Bucks here. 122 to 113 was the final there on Monday. That was a game that the Bucks, you wanted the Bucks to kind of pull this one out. Bucks have struggled with the Pacers this year, looking at the season series against the Pacers. The Pacers have had their numbers so far. They won game 1 and 2 of this season series. Bucks were able to take game 3, but now game 4 of this season series, the Pacers pull it off again. The Bucks can't muster more than 113. Struggled scoring the basketball in this one. It started out early. The Bucks were winning 32-25 at the end of the first quarter. The Bucks came out hot. We're shooting it well. Going into that second quarter, Bucks still, 30 points there in the second quarter compared to the Pacers 31. Pacers started to pace themselves. But then going into that second half, 26 points for the Bucks there in the third, and then 25 for the Bucks in the fourth. And that's what allowed the Pacers there, having 38 points in that fourth quarter, to take the lead and ultimately win this one against the Bucks. So in this one, looking at the box for this game here, if it'll pull up for me, it was for some reason, now my Wi-Fi is cutting in and out on me. You can't have good things here. Here we go. Looking at the box in this one, for the Pacers, they were paced by Halliburton in this one, 26 points for Halliburton. Miles Turner added 13, 7 from Smith there. Obi Toppin, the bench was the big thing for the Pacers in this one. Obi Toppin had 11. Jackson added 18. McConnell added 16. And then Murthan added 25 off the bench for the Pacers in this one. 9 for 15 from the floor. They shot 38 free throws in this ball game. 31 for 38. That's a big difference in here. 5 for 35 from downtown. They did not win. The Pacers on this season, pretty good from downtown. They've been consistently shooting the ball well. 5 for 35 from downtown in this one, 43 for 97 from the floor. This was a bad shooting night for the Pacers. And the Bucks, 38 times the Pacers went to the free throw line in this one, making 31 of them, 52 rebounds in this ball game, 24 fouls on the Pacers, 7 turnovers on this game. Looking at the Bucks, Giannis paced the Bucks there with 30 points. Middleton added 21. Brook Lopez finally showed out a little bit in this one. 21 points for Brook Lopez. Lillard and Beasley both 13 and 12 respectively in this one. The Bucks bench did not come to play in this one. Bobby Portis 8 points in 18 minutes. Connaughton 3 points in 24 minutes. Connaughton has been the thing that's killed the Bucks for me this season. He has been that guy that has killed the Bucks. 24 minutes, 3 points, 1 for 3 from the floor, 1 for 3 from downtown. That was his only make on the night there. He's just a non-threat for this Bucks team right now, and I think that's kind of hurting the Bucks, not having that scoring threat in Connaughton coming off the bench there. Cameron Payne added 5 in 12 minutes here, and Andre Jackson Jr. in 5 minutes of play had nothing across the board for him besides a rebound. Bucks out-rebounded 52 to 46 in this one. Looking at the free throw line, also 26 free throws for the Bucks in this game, 21 for 26. That's a big margin. That's 12-point difference. That's a 12-point swing there from the line in this one between the two teams, and that was your difference in this ball game. 10 points. 10-point difference there at the free throw line. 31 makes for the Pacers, 21 for the Bucks. There's your difference in the ball game. 41 for 93 from the floor in this one for the Bucks. 10 for 40 from downtown. Made a couple more threes in this ball game than the Pacers, but like I said, the free throw line was the killer for the Bucks in this one, allowing the Pacers to consistently get to the line. And when they got there, the Pacers made it count. 31 for 38 in this ball game here. So a tough loss for the Bucks. After that game, they dropped 24 and 9, 16 and 3 at home. The Pacers moved to 18 and 14 on the season, 9 and 7 on the road. The Pacers and Bucks, quick turnaround. They're going to face off here tomorrow or tonight. Again, it's going to be a big matchup for the Bucks. We got to see the Bucks put together a game against the Pacers. That third game of this season series, the Bucks finally played a little bit better. But if you look at this Bucks team, in all reality, looking at them in the East right now, nobody really is like worried or fearing the Bucks. You think about your super teams that you've had in the past. You look at LeBron when he went down to South Beach. He had D Wade and Chris Bosh. Everybody was worried about having to play the Heat. You look at the Spurs from around that same time with Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili, Tim Duncan. You had guys like that. You had the Warriors there with KD and Steph and Clay and Draymond and Iguodala. You had these teams that everybody, when they saw them on the schedule, said, crap, we got to go play them guys. You don't get that with the Bucks. This should be a team that's built that teams should fear them. They should not want to step on the court and have to face Giannis and Damian Lillard and Brook Lopez and Chris Middleton, Beasley, whoever it is, whoever's stepping on the floor. They shouldn't want to have to face the Bucks. Nobody worries when they go to face the Bucks right now. That's my personal opinion on this Bucks team right now, is they just don't have X factors at the moment. I mean, Lillard can ring it up. We know Lillard can get his. Giannis can score points. Middleton is day by day. It seems like he's day by day. He's going to score you points, or he's going to be the facilitator of the offense. Brook Lopez, most games, non-factor on the offensive end. He's more of that defensive threat for you. Beasley is hit or miss. And then your bench, you have Bobby Portis. Connaughton's nothing off the bench right now for the Bucks. Cameron Payne, not really doing much for this Bucks team. Andre Jackson Jr., rookie, more on the defensive end as he's going to contribute. Camp, it's hit or miss what you're going to get out of him. Jay Crowder has been injured, so you're missing a guy in Jay Crowder. But right now, I mean, this Bucks team is just out of sorts. There's no clear-cut path that the Bucks have right now that everybody's like, this Bucks team is going to make a run. They're going to go to the finals. They're guaranteed they're going to be in the mix for the finals. They're not a guarantee right now. This Eastern Conference, looking at what the Bucks have, it should be almost running through Milwaukee, but it's not. I mean, the Bucks right now, Pacers just came to the Pfizer and won. Orlando Magic beat the Bucks early on this season. The Celtics, don't worry about the Bucks. The 76ers, not scared of the Bucks. You're looking down the list of teams here in this Eastern Conference, the Miami Heat. I mean, just different teams looking down the line here of opponents that the Bucks have faced or will face here going down the stretch. Cleveland Cavaliers. I mean, just teams that the Bucks should be able to handle, and they just don't. They don't handle them mightily. They don't take care of their business. Looking at these games against some of these lesser teams, the Bucks should be blown out. I mean, the Knicks. You look at that Knicks game, the Bucks lost on Christmas Day. Other than that, I mean, you look down the line here, you got the Rockets played close with the Bucks. Pacers, they have the Bucks number right now. The Bulls, have played close with the Bucks multiple times now without some of their star players. The Bucks just don't have right now what it takes to get over this hump. Is it going to be a piece? Do they have to add a piece? Do they have to go out and find somebody, trade for somebody? Can they do it internally? Is it a coaching adjustment that has to be made by Adrian Griffin and this coaching staff that's going to change this team for the better? I'm not sure what this Bucks team needs to do at the moment that is going to put them over the edge. It seems like at times they have the pieces. Bobby comes off the bench and scores. Cameron Payne has a good night. Looking at the starting lineup, Beasley has a big night. Damian Lillard's getting it done. Giannis is scoring at will. And then you have Brook Lopez and Middleton adding in when they can. But when you look at the Bucks consistently on a consistent basis, you aren't getting good games out of Brook Lopez. Beasley's hit or miss. Connaughton's not scoring off the bench. Payne's not scoring off the bench. Bobby's giving you 10 off the bench there. Camp and Andre Jackson Jr. not really doing much for you. Looking at Giannis and Dame, they're giving you about 20, 30 a night. So you can rely on those two. But besides that, the role players, you don't have the best role players right now. I think Middleton's a good role player. I think he's a star in his own. Brook Lopez not playing up to par right now. Now what we've seen out of Brook. And Beasley's not cutting it. To me, he's not cutting it. I just don't think Beasley's consistent enough for me to be an everyday starter. And the way that he shoots it, the way that his game is emphasized, I just don't see him as a starter in this lineup. I just don't. He's not that starter for me right now. I really do think the Bucks need to find somebody for that shooting guard role. And I don't think they have it internally right now. I really don't. I think they have to go out and find somebody if they want to fix this problem right now. If they want to, hopefully something starts to work its way out and this Bucks team can work around some of the inconsistent shooting. Maybe you can just live with it, but I just don't. I don't see anybody fearing the Bucks, and I think that's the biggest problem in Milwaukee right now is that there's nothing that stands out completely to me for this Bucks team, especially after you add a guy like Damian Lillard. After you add Lillard, you expected this Bucks team to be over the top? I don't think so. I think they kind of regressed. They went backwards from what we had last year in Milwaukee. Now we got Damian Lillard, and it's like, I don't think we got better. I really don't. Maybe a guard that can shoot it a little bit better. But other than that, the defense went downhill. Brook Lopez has been less effective for this Bucks team. And in the shooting guard spot, we got worse in the shooting guard spot there. Moving on from Grayson Allen and even having a guy like Ingles in there at times, we have gotten worse at the shooting guard spot. So right now the Bucks definitely some turmoil. It's definitely something that hopefully we see the Bucks work through here and maybe make a big trade that could boost them over the edge here moving on. But the Bucks coming up tonight here, big game coming up it's going to be at Indiana. 6 o'clock tip for that one. Should be a big game, should be a good game. The Bucks coming off of a loss there, you expect for them to come out with a little bit of fire, and hopefully we see big things coming out of the Bucks here tonight starting at 6 o'clock. There in that one. But with that, I want to talk about Game Day Supply in Onalaska. At the store, they do everything from skate sharpening to finding you everything you need for your game day. Looking at hockey accessories, baseball, custom fielding gloves for softball and baseball. Also looking at bats. If you're looking for a bat this time of year, getting closer to the start of the spring season, you got to be looking at the bats down there at Game Day Supply. They have Louisville Slugger, Marucci, DeMarini. They have everything you need for baseball and softball bats. Check them out there in Onalaska at their location or online at GameDaySupply.net. But with that, I want to jump over. I want to talk about some of the big bowl games that came up there Monday on New Year's Day there in sports. Looking at the college football playoff first, some big games there. Alabama took the loss to Michigan. I saw a lot of Florida State players after that game kind of coming out and saying, oh, well, this is what, karma, blah, 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 stuff like that. I don't have the tweets up in front of me, but the tweets were along that line. It's like, they shouldn't have been there. It should have been us, this kind of dealio and everything in between. Alabama's offense, I don't care who you are and what you think. Alabama's offense at the end of the season was better than Florida State's. Hands down, better than Florida State's. Without Jordan Travis, Florida State's offense was atrocious. I don't care if Roadmaker's playing or not. That offense was terrible. They barely got by in that ACC championship game against Louisville. Louisville, good team. Good team. Not a great team. A good team in Louisville. And this Alabama team, I tell you what, you give me Alabama versus Florida State in the regular season there with that Florida State offense that was without Jordan Travis, I take Alabama. I tell you that. I take Alabama. In this game, Michigan's defense played well to start this game. Alabama was out of sorts. This game shouldn't have been close. Right away, Michigan should have blown the doors off of Alabama. The way Alabama couldn't move the football, the way Michigan was scheming up their offense and were able to move the ball against Alabama. I mean, if it wasn't for, it was mistakes. Mistakes is what kept Alabama in this game against Michigan. Michigan was outright the better team. You put Florida State against Michigan in this game, Michigan blows the doors off of Florida State. Florida State's got a pretty good defense. Don't get me wrong. Alabama's got a pretty good defense along with it. Communication issues were a problem in this game for Alabama. Coordinators were a problem in this season for Alabama. The offensive line for Alabama, atrocious in this game against Michigan. I mean, the center for Alabama needs to go. I mean, if they can't fix him, go away or move him to another position because that was bad. That was a terrible performance by the offensive line for Alabama. Michigan was able to do kind of anything they wanted in this game, blitzing against Milroe. Milroe was constantly in distress, not able to really do anything in the pocket. And when I watched this game, just going off of my point there before, is that Michigan was outright the better team over Alabama. But at the end of the day, everybody out there knows, yes, Florida State, according to record, deserved to be in the college football playoff. Yes, 13-0, ACC champ, you deserve to be in the college football playoff. The SEC, I don't care who you are, is the best conference in college football. That's just plain and simple. Is the best conference in college football. And at the end of the day, I look at it and say, when Florida State had 23 players sat out against Georgia. 23 players. If you wanted to prove a point, don't go to Twitter with it. That's my biggest problem, is that guys go to Twitter with it. Don't go to Twitter with it. Nobody cares. Go on the field and prove it. All these guys sat out against Georgia, didn't go out there and play against Georgia. Why? What were you proving to anybody when you sat out against Georgia and watched your teammates get completely dismantled by Georgia? Georgia ran them out of town in the first quarter of that game. And you guys want to come out after Alabama loses to Michigan and now you're going to come out and talk? No, shut up. It's not even worth the time. You guys wanted to prove something. That was your chance. Beating Georgia would have proved something, because Georgia, they proved in that game they were one of the top 4 teams in college football. They were. They lost to Alabama. That was a bad loss to Alabama because it knocked Georgia out of the college football playoff. But at the end of the day, Georgia's one of the top teams in college football. If they weren't top 4, they proved that they were number 5. But at the end of the day, Florida State, you want to prove a point, go play the game. That's my biggest thing right now. These bowl games, you look at them as a whole, and it's not just Florida State. Every college football team, we watch bowl games, and I haven't been around I've been around for 23 years, so I can't tell you that I've been around for every single college football game. But what I know is that watching games from back in the day, bowl games used to mean something. They used to mean pride. You had pride when you walked out there. You wanted to play for your team. You wanted to have one last game with your team. You wanted to go and win that bowl game. Didn't matter where you're going, whatever it was. Rose Bowl, Fiesta Bowl, Orange Bowl, didn't matter. You wanted to play. Now you look at these games nowadays, the transfer portal. First off, why is the transfer portal open before the season's even over? Why am I seeing guys who are on bowl teams transferring before the season's even done? Before you can, why is that a thing? Open up the transfer portal when the college football season ends. That'd be like MLB free agency starting before the season ends. There's guys talking all over the place. We know it's happening, but you're not seeing deals happen yet. Why? I just don't get it. I don't get it. Why are guys able to transfer before the season's even over? That's first off. Second off, to the pride point, to everything else in between, guys don't play in these games anymore. It's like it means nothing. These games don't, unless you're in the college football playoff, nobody plays. Nobody cares. It used to be these games were something. They were something to enjoy at the end of the year. It's a playoff game. It doesn't matter if you were in the college football playoff, if back in the day when you were in the BCS National Championship, or if you made the Rose Bowl, or if you made the Fiesta Bowl, the Duke's Mayo Bowl, whatever it is. These guys on these lesser teams, they give everything they got. They wish that, the teams that don't finish 500 sit out there and they wish that they could play in those games and be in a bowl game, have one more game with their guys. You look at these programs. Look at Bo Nix. That dude, he's going to the NFL. He knows he's going to the NFL. He was ticked when they didn't make the college football playoff. They lost 2 games this season. They lost to Washington twice. What does he do? He goes out, he plays in the Verbo Fiesta Bowl, and he completely mops the floor with number 23 Liberty. Completely just knocks the barn doors off of Liberty. And nobody batted an eye. Nobody said, this is a crazy thing. That's crazy. You know why it's crazy to me? Because every other good team's quarterback said, I'm done. I'm walking away. Look at Florida State. Jordan Travis was hurt, so he, of course, wasn't going to play. Roadmaker didn't play in that bowl game there. Looking at LSU, Jane Daniels didn't play. Looking at all these top teams there, Caleb Williams. Georgia had their starting quarterback out there, but he's coming back. Other than that, I mean, you look down the line here of good teams that their quarterback is going to move on to the next level. Didn't play in their bowl game. DJ Uyunglele didn't play for Oregon State. Look at that. 48-8 was the final score there. It baffles me. It really does. And, I watched Ohio State look like complete garbage against Missouri. Look like complete garbage. First off, your quarterback transfers out. Then your top wide receiver, it's one thing. I would be ticked as a teammate to one of these players if they came down on the sideline and watched us struggle on the side of the ball that they're on. Ohio State, prime example. Marvin Harrison sits out that game. Ohio State can't throw the football. They can't, everything looked like complete garbage. He's a game changer, but he didn't play in that game. Why? You don't want to get injured for the next level. Whatever. At the end of the day, it's whatever. That's the trend that's going on in all sports. MLB is the same way. It's a money game. College football is the same way. It's a money game. It is building yourself for that contract, and who cares about everybody else at the end of the day. I understand it. I do. And, you can listen to this and you can say, well, he's completely wrong with what he's saying. Guys are just taking it. They don't want to injure themselves. They're playing for the money. That's a smart thing for them. Sure, that's a smart thing for them. But as fans of the sport, as teammates to these players, how do you feel? How do you feel when you watch your team go 11-2 on the year, like Ohio State, 11-1, going into that game against Missouri, and you watch them put up 3 points, 3 points in the first quarter? You watch a crap show of an offense out there on the field. Yes, your backup quarterback did get injured. That didn't help. But you watch how many guys sit out. How do you feel if you're a Florida State fan who traveled to that Capital One Orange Bowl? I know it's in Florida, so it's not like it was the biggest drive in the world. But you watched all season long this Florida State team, and you were excited. 13-0 going into this game. You want to prove to everybody that your team was the best. And you go in and you play Georgia, and Georgia puts up 35 points in the second quarter. 35 points. How do you feel as a defensive player watching your guys get the crap beat out of them? How do you feel as an offensive player? I'm looking out for myself. That's the way the world's trending. That's the way sports are trending. And that's what's wrong with sports, is that crap right there. You can disagree with me. You can agree with me, whatever you want to do. But at the end of the day, that's what's wrong with sports. That's what's wrong with team sports these days. You want to play an individual sports? Fine, go golf. Go golf. Go play singles. Go play tennis. Go play singles tennis. Go swim. Go be a swimmer. Go do these sports that don't involve teams. Because when I'm an NFL GM and I see Bo Nix, he's not going to go number 1 in the draft. He won't. But I see Bo Nix go out there and play in his last college football game and go out there and do what he did. Distribute one heck of a game. I look at that and I say, that's a team guy. That's a guy I can build around. Caleb Williams, I have said it all year long. I don't like Caleb Williams. I think he's a Johnny Manziel. He's about himself. He's about himself in that way. That's how I feel about that. And when I watched Bo Nix and I saw that was awesome. I was 100%. I didn't like Oregon. I don't like Oregon. I wasn't even that big of a fan of Bo Nix. But after that, I'm a big fan of Bo Nix. I really am. Big fan of Bo Nix for going out there and playing with his guys one last time. That's what I got to say on that whole scenario right there. I was impressed by Bo Nix. I'm not impressed on watching how many guys sit out of college football games these days. I think it's terrible for the sport. I think it's terrible for viewership. I really dislike what I'm seeing in college football right now in that aspect. But with that, I just want to, got off topic there a little bit, but stayed in topic too. You know what I'm saying? Next up, Texas, Washington. That was the second game of the night. Texas had a shot late in that game, went to the corner of the end zone. Incomplete, had a little deflection there in the end zone. Good defense by Washington, ended there, and they pulled it out 37-31. Washington got the win. So it's going to be an all Big Ten. Going into next season, Washington will join the Big Ten, so an all Big Ten national championship there between Michigan and Washington. That'll be on January 8th there. Other than that, like I said, some of the other bowl games from New Year's Day, Oregon got the big win over Liberty 45-6. Wisconsin lost to LSU 35-31, and Iowa took the loss to Tennessee 35-0. Iowa showed once again their offense cannot score points, and that was proven in this game here. But like I said, Monday, January 8th will be the kickoff of the national championship. 6:30 start there on ESPN from NRG Stadium there in Houston, Texas. But with that, I want to talk about home team, Century 21 Gold Key Realty. Call Peggy, Sue, or Anna to find your dream home, or if you're looking to sell this time of year, find them on Facebook at Home Team Century 21 Gold Key Realty, or stop in and see them in Marshfield at their location. But with that, I want to move on to the Packers here. Got a little bit of stuff I want to talk about with the Packers today. Looking at this last matchup with Minnesota. And that, the first thing I want to start with, Joel Barry's job should not be safe after that performance against Minnesota. The simple fact that I got to put out there. You look at this season in a whole and seasons past for the Packers, and you say to yourself, okay, Joel Barry's defenses have had some good games. Looking at this stretch of games Packers have had, good game against the Lions there on Thanksgiving, good game against the Chiefs. But you got to weigh your good games as much as you weigh your bad games, and the really bad games outweigh the good games. Tommy DeVito, Baker Mayfield, even Bryce Young. Packers did win that game, but even Bryce Young, career day against Green Bay's defense. Joel Barry's job, unless if the Packers go on some magical run, and a magical run, I mean they got to get past the second round of playoffs for me to say Joel Barry's job. Second round of playoffs, and Joel Barry's defense has got to hold the team under 20 points. That's what it's really going to take for Joel Barry to have anywhere near close to a job being safe after this season. Looking at this Packers team as a whole, I really expected the offense to struggle in this season. Youngest offense in football, moving pieces constantly. The offense should be the problem. It's not. It's not anymore. The offense was the problem. The offense has figured it out. Now the defense has got to step it up. You have moving pieces on the defense. We've had problems on the defense, communication problems on the defense. That stems back to Joel Barry and the way that he's calling this defense. He's called some good games. He's called some good plays. He's got guys who don't really want to play for him because of what happens on the other occasions. But when I look at this defense as a whole right now, Joel Barry is the biggest problem in Green Bay right now. The other problem that I have, and I'm going to get to it right after this point, LaFleur does deserve a lot of credit for what this offense has progressed into. The way the season started, we didn't expect much out of Green Bay. Didn't expect much out of the offense. After that atrocious start, we were like, okay, guys are playing for jobs at this point. Jordan Love's playing for maybe a contract extension, possibly. But, I mean, at the end of the day, if Jordan Love isn't coming back, we wouldn't be surprised. Now, it's like, okay, Jordan Love's proved it. He's got some game. Matt LaFleur's been drawing up some good plays. At times, he's had some questionable calls. But he's been calling up some good plays here for this Packers offense, and the Packers offense has been playing well. The rookies have kind of progressed there on the defense or the offensive side there, looking at the wide receiver room. Really young in there. Constant revolving door. Bo Melton's in there now. We've seen some Torre a lot. Romeo Dobbs has been in there, but Christian Watson's constantly out. We haven't seen Luke Musgrave in a couple of weeks. Also, guys like Jaden Reed has been banged up. Dontavian Wicks has been banged up. The constant revolving door, yet this Packers offense continues to find ways. Jordan Love deserves a lot of credit also for the way that he's helped find ways to make this work. These receivers, you don't expect much out of them. Jordan Love finds a way with them. Bo Melton, especially looking at this last game against the Vikings, big game for Bo Melton. not really what we expected, but Jordan Love takes it and he just runs with it. And I think that's the most impressive thing out of Jordan Love right now is it hasn't really mattered who's in the wide receiver room. He can make it happen, and that's what we saw against Minnesota there. But to my next point of a guy whose job has to be in jeopardy here coming up, Matt LaFleur. He struggled in the clutch games. Looking back at it, NFC Championship games at home, lost them. Looking at last season there against the Lions, lost that game at home. Now you got the Bears. Big game against the Bears. Can this Packers offense and Matt LaFleur figure it out against the Bears? The Bears defense has been playing a little bit better. I think that's a lot to contribute to what Matt LaFleur has done for this team. But in the clutch situations, in the prime games, can they figure it out? Can Matt LaFleur and this Packers coaching staff put something together that produces a win for the Packers in a clutch spot? That is going to be the big thing. That is going to be the storyline and something that is going to have to be watched for in this game or upcoming here against the Bears. That's going to be a big thing to watch over there for this Packers team. Also, looking at the grand scheme of things, the playoffs for the Packers right now. Right now, projected 7 seed, they're going to be facing the Dallas Cowboys there as that 2 seed. What to expect from Green Bay? The biggest thing for me is getting into the playoffs. Moving down the stretch here, beating the Bears, getting into the playoffs. Then the tough part is Dallas, pretty good team. A lot of people talking, well, if the Rams lose, Packers win, they can jump up, play the Lions here. We beat the Lions already. We know what the Lions have. Can the Packers go to Dallas and beat this Dallas Cowboys team? Can they go to Philadelphia and beat the Eagles? And then you move on there. What does this Packers team look like when they face a team like the 49ers, a very impressive team in the 49ers? What does this Packers team look like? That's going to be the big question mark that I think the Packers will have to answer here. Especially, you beat the Bears, you get into the playoffs, go against the Cowboys. If you don't win, what does this Packers team look like? Because at the end of the day, this is still a young team. This is a season that was for building, and you build to the point where now you're in a playoff spot. Can you get into the playoffs and can you put up a good game against Dallas? I think that's the big thing. You might not win, but can you put up big numbers? Can you look good? Can Jordan Love in the offense, can the defense look good against the Dallas Cowboys if you get to Dallas, if you get the Lions again? What does this team look like traveling on the road to play a good team? Even a team like Philly. What does this team look like? I think that's the thing the Packers will have to answer for us, especially if they get into the playoffs. Got to beat the Bears first. That's first and foremost. But at the end of the day, what does this team look like down the stretch? That's what I want to see. That's what I'm excited to see is what this Packers team can do and what they will build off of to see moving forward. I think that's going to be a big thing to watch out for with Green Bay. But with that, I want to talk about Pittsville Farm and Home Center. At the store in Pittsville, they serve you anything from hydraulic hoses to red roses. Stop in and see the awesome crew at Pittsville Farm and Home Center in Pittsville, or check them out on Facebook at Pittsville Farm and Home Center. But with that, I want to move on here. We're going to talk NFL scoreboard from this last weekend. Just quickly look it over here and see some of the big games that happened in football. So, like we talked about, Browns got the win over the Jets there in the Thursday night matchup, 37-20. Browns clinched a playoff spot. Next up, Cowboys got the 20-19 controversial win over the Lions there. A lot of mess. I heard that the reffing crew will not be allowed to ref in the playoffs. They are suspended. Good to see there because that was a mess. To end that game against the Lions there, 2019 Cowboys got the win. Looking at down the stretch here, Bills got 27-21 win against the Patriots. Bears, 37-17 wins over the Falcons. Bears look good against the Falcons there. An impressive win by Chicago. Looking down the line there, Colts got the win against the Raiders, 23-20. Rams got the win against the Giants, 26-25. One last screw you by Mason Crosby, missing that field goal at the end there that would have won that game for the Giants. Cardinals upend the Eagles. The Eagles are a mess right now. 35-31 was the final there. Saints get the win over the Buccaneers, 23-13. Looking down the line here, 49ers 27-10 winners over the Commanders. Jaguars 26-0 over the Panthers. Ravens 56-19 over the Dolphins. Massive win for the Ravens. Statement win for the Ravens. They're proving they are the top team in the AFC, the team to beat in the AFC right now. Texans stay alive in the AFC South race. They won 26-3 over the Titans. CJ Stroud had a big game for the Texans. Steelers 30-23 over the Seahawks. That got the Packers into the playoffs there. That win for the Steelers. Broncos 16-9 over the Chargers. Chiefs got the win over the Bengals 25-17. Packers 33-10 over the Vikings there on Sunday night. So a big weekend there in the NFL. We'll get more into the NFL as the week goes on here. And we'll get our fantasy. We weren't able to do our fantasy report tonight because I got to see Austin's face when I show him that I won again. So with that, I want to move on here. We got Badger basketball recap from last night there. The Badgers got the win over Iowa. Big game for the Badgers there at home in that one. 83-72 was the final. In that one, looking at the box in this game here, the Badgers controlled it. Right away, Iowa jumped out to a lead. And the Badgers kind of had to play from behind in this one. Not something that we're used to seeing from the Badgers there. They struggled early on. 32 all at the half in this one. The Badgers pulled away, shooting 58% in the second half in this one. Wall, massive game for Wall at the free throw line. I think that's been the biggest improvement to this Badger team this season, was just the improvement that we've seen at the free throw line. In this one, 11 for 13 from the free throw line. He had 8 rebounds, 4 for 6 from the field. Massive game for Tyler Wall. I thought that was a big point to look for in this one. AJ Storr had 16 points for the Badgers. Max Klesman had 15 and Krall had 14. Also added 13 rebounds for the Badgers. So a big game out of Steven Krall in this one. They controlled the paint. That was a big thing. Outscored Iowa in the paint. Controlled the fast break points. The thing that killed Wisconsin in this game was the turnover deal in this game for the Badgers. And, I listened to most of this one, but 13 turnovers for the Badgers. And that's what kept Iowa in this game. Wisconsin would pull away. They'd put up a 9-point lead, 11-point lead, and then all of a sudden, Wisconsin would get the ball back. They get a stop, get the ball back, turnover. Iowa would go down and score. That's what kept Iowa in this game, and that's what the Badgers really struggled with in this ball game. Looking at this one as a whole, looking at Iowa, Freeman paced Iowa with 14 and Perkins with 25. Krikke only added 10. Krikke had a down night for Iowa in this one, had 4 fouls. Foul trouble got him early. Samford only had 9, and McCaffrey added 5 for this Iowa team. 14 turnovers, 22 fouls. That was a big thing in this one. 16 free throws for Iowa. The Badgers did shoot 35 free throws, made 25 of them. Not a bad percentage. You'd like to see that a little bit higher, but made the free throws when they had them. Down the stretch, the free throw percentage looked worse for the Badgers. Missed some ones at the end. They were consistent throughout the game. They looked a lot better shooting the ball throughout the game here. Chucky Hepburn, only 4 points in this one. Kind of a struggle from Chucky there, shooting the ball in this one. 2 for 5 from the floor in this ball game. Didn't look to shoot a lot. That was the big thing with Chucky in this one. Only 25 minutes. But, Chucky, we talk about it every week. Chucky, he plays the game at a different level. He's what the Badgers need controlling the basketball. We don't need Chucky to score all the time. He's a closer. He can be a closer for you. But he doesn't have to be the scorer at most points in this game. He's a guy who paces this team. At the end, he was the guy who you wanted in there. He could control the basketball, make things happen when he had to, and that's what I think the big thing out of Chucky Hepburn is right now. Klesman, 15 points. I thought a big game out of Klesman. 6 for 8 from the line, 4 for 6 from the floor, 1 for 5 from downtown. A big shot late in this game. Kind of put the Badgers, put Iowa away, and I thought that was the big thing in this one. Connor Essegian didn't really play. Got a couple seconds there at the end. Didn't really play in this one. Not really sure what the usage of Connor Essegian will be moving forward for this team. 24 minutes out of Blackwell, though, 5 points in this ball game. 0 for 1 from downtown, did have 3 free throws in this ball game, though. McGee, spark plug. McGee was the spark plug off the bench for the Badgers in this one. 2 points only on the game, 10 minutes. But in that first half, I thought he had a little spark that the Badgers needed there when they were close in this game. Nolan Winters, 7 minutes off the bench, 5 points, 2 for 3 from the floor. The big thing, Steven Crowell, stepping out, 2 for 2 from downtown, 6 for 10 from the floor in this one, 13 rebounds, 14 points. Big game from Steven Crowell on multiple levels. I thought that was the big thing to watch out there for from Steven Crowell in this one. Badgers, from this in this game here, second half was big for the Badgers, 51 points in the second half. They controlled the second half comfortably. Mostly comfortably. The turnovers, like I said, is what killed the Badgers in this one. Despite they were 4 for 16 from the 3-point line in this one. The free throw line is what saved the Badgers in this ball game against Iowa, getting there and making it count. That was the big thing in this one. Iowa's aggressive. Badgers got to the line. The big killer for Iowa in this one. Controlling Tony Perkins was a problem for the Badgers. Controlling the fast break points at times were a problem for the Badgers. It seemed like Wisconsin would shoot a free throw and all of a sudden Iowa's scoring at the other end. It's like you can't have transition points like that. Badgers need to do better moving forward here. Controlling the transition offense. They did a good job for the most part in this one, but I thought at times they got lackadaisical like they did controlling the basketball in this one. Too many turnovers for the Badgers. They're turning the ball over here. Iowa, foul trouble is what killed them in this one. Krikke was out for most of this one. He's their leading scorer. He's their main scorer. He was out for most of this game. That's what killed them. Klesmit was the key man for the Badgers. Hasn't really scored a lot since that game against Marquette where he had 21 in the first half. This game, massive 15 points out of him. He actually only totaled 14 points over the last 4 games, or over those 4 games after the Marquette game. So the big thing was Klesmit getting involved, having multiple scores in this game. Crowell, Wall, Storr, Klesmit, getting some contributions elsewhere, but spread apart. That was the big thing in this one for the Badgers. The Badgers move on from this one. They will host Nebraska on Saturday. Iowa will host Rutgers on Saturday, and that will be their next games coming up here. So the Badgers will be in action on Saturday next against Nebraska. But with that, that's about all I got for you guys today. It's been awesome talking with you guys. Just a short one today. Not a whole lot going on. Austen should be back tomorrow, and we will have a lot to talk about there moving into the later week here, getting more into the Packers, talking a little bit more about the Badgers here, and maybe getting into a little bit more Badger football and whatever else crosses us while we get there. But with that, this has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Your Age. Thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you guys back here tomorrow. But until then, deuces.